Do you know history? Do you know history? I mean, do you? Do you really know history? Okay, let's discuss then. Did you know that the Democrats were the party of slavery and the Republicans were the anti slavery party? In fact, the Republican Party was formed in 1854 for the sole purpose of freeing slaves from the evil hands of the Democrats. In 1860, the Democrats declared war on the Republicans because they were determined to keep slavery intact. Democrats in the South versus the Republicans in the North. That means today, the year of our Lord 2023, the Democrats are the racists, while the Republicans are the anti-racists. The party switch is a myth. Did you know that Democrats started the KKK to terrorize free slaves and install fear into everyone who didn't conform to their racist beliefs? Democrats even went so far as to erect statues of Confederate soldiers in some pitiful attempt to uphold white supremacy. So you know what that means? Nothing has changed. Nothing has changed at all. Democrats then are the same ones today. Party switch is a myth. Democrats in the South created Jim Crow laws to separate the races, did everything in their power to keep black people from voting. They vehemently and violently opposed the civil rights legislation. So to this day, Democrats are the same as they've always been. Party switch isn't real. Oh, sure, the Democrats like to cherry pick things to fit their narrative, but it's all for naught. It's all null and void because nothing has changed. Nathan Bedford Forrest was a Democrat, and Abraham Lincoln was a Republican. So that means today that Joe Biden is Nathan Bedford Forrest and Ron DeSantis is Abraham Lincoln. It's not that hard to see. Did you know that Joe Biden is the author of the 1994 crime bill that disproportionately incarcerated black people? Did you know he spoke at the funeral of one James Byrd, who was a member of the KKK? And the Democrats still want to push the lie of the party switch. Ain't it funny they can never pinpoint a time the supposed party switch happened? I mean, when did it happen? It didn't. They expect people to believe that all the Democrats just up and swapped parties. That's a nice fairy tale to believe when you're trying to convince yourself you're not the racist, wrong side of history party. So the whole government just switched parties, huh? Can you name them? Can you name who did it? Who's what? Strom Thurmond? Oh, so one guy. So that explains it all. When did it happen? After the New Deal with FDR? Well, no, because George Wallace wasn't until the 60s. And after the Civil Rights Bills? Well, no, because James Byrd never swapped parties. Neither did George Wallace. So when did it happen? The 80s? Like I said, George Wallace was still a Democrat. And also, state and local politics in the South didn't go full Republican until the new millennia. Party switch is a myth. The fact these liberals keep trying to say there was some sort of magic party switch is just freaking hilarious in my book. One guy in Congress swapped parties, so that means all the racist Democrats became racist Republicans. No other major politician changed parties. Democrats stayed Democrats. They just said what they wanted, what they needed to say to stay in power. They didn't learn. They didn't grow. I mean, Joe Biden wrote the horrible 94 crime bill all by himself. So that means he has the same exact line of thinking today. Tell me when all these Democrats just up and swap parties. Just tell me. Tell me when this switch supposedly happened. Tell me. I am begging you. You can't. You can't at all. You can't logically explain why the South is all Republican today when it used to be all Democrat. It's a fairy tale made up in the minds of socialist commies to keep their liberal tears from flowing. You know what? You're exactly right. I can't tell you when the supposed party switch happened. I cannot give you a specific time period. I cannot give you a date. I can't give you the specifics of when all the Democrats and all the Republicans met at a Howard Johnson's hotel off the interstate exit 69, ate dinner in the conference room, and then they all changed, switched t-shirts. I can't tell you when it happened. I've heard about it, but I can't tell you about it. It's impossible. And since I can't nail down a date with a definite answer, that means the whole party switch myth theory is null and void. Party switch never happened. Case closed. The left today is the same as it's always been. If Nathan Bedford Forrest and old honest Abe Lincoln were alive today, they would still fit perfectly into their parties. Yep, there's no way any rational person could for a second think or believe that the party switch is real. If you believe it's real, then you don't know nothing. Okay, well, let me tell you what I do know. I know what evolution is. I know that styles change. I know that what I wore in high school, nobody wears today. I know that thinking grows and changes over time. There was a point in everyone's life where you didn't know how to walk. Now look at you, walking right into the point and somehow still missing it. I know what a recipe is. I know that if I want cracked chicken, I just can't go buy the chicken and the cream cheese and the ranch and the bacon bits and the cheddar cheese, come home and bam, cracked chicken is ready to go. I know it's a process. I know it takes time. I know what a fucking slow cooker is. I know that people who were Democrats founded the KKK. I also know that if you walked up to a KKK member today or any member of a white supremacist group and called them a Democrat, you better take off running right ASAP. I know what ideologies are. I know what words are. Words like liberal and conservative. I know when discussing things like changing ideology and the supposed party switch, detractors always use Democrat and Republican and just completely ignore liberal and conservative. I know if Abraham Lincoln came back to life today, he'll be horrified to see his party waving the flag of those treasonous traitor Democrats he went to war against. I know something doesn't have to happen all at one time to make it true. Why are Republicans wary to believe in the Big Bang? But when it comes to the party switch, it's Big Bang or bust. No wonder they don't believe in climate change. They can't fathom things slowly eroding or changing over a period of time. No Democrat today tries to shy away from the Democrat sad past. We acknowledge it and take pride in knowing that they have learned, grew, and decided to do better. They know it was us that put up them racist statues that the Republicans, for some reason, are so proud of today. Going so far as to write laws to keep them in place. Did you know that pre-Roe versus Wade, when abortion rights were just coming to the forefront, that Republicans were the pro-choice party, and it was the Democrats that were pro-life? Or forced birth is the more appropriate term. I'm not making this up. This is all verifiable fact, which I know nobody on the right will believe, but is all verifiable fact. But yeah, the party switch never ever happened. The fact that people think that for the switch to be true is only if you can point to a specific date when all the elected officials literally switch parties has got to be one of the most ludicrous things I've ever heard in my motherfucking life. The fact that they can't see it's a multifaceted, slow burn that is still happening to this day is right up there on the ludicrous scale too. How many people have you heard say they were a Democrat for years, but now they'll never cave to the woke crowd or some other ridiculous saying like that? I've heard it so damn much. You know what that means? That means that person used to vote Democrat, now they vote Republican. And what do we call that? A motherfucking switch, biatch. Party switch should be party evolution. But I know nobody on the right believes in that either. So we're just stuck at an impasse where they're screaming at me about how wrong I am. And I'm just shaking my head wondering how we got here. I mean, Tulsi Gabbard left the Democratic Party, and the right all celebrated it while saying the party switch isn't real. Kirsten Sinema became an independent. Alabama had a governor named Fob James who was elected twice. First time was in the 80s as a Democrat. Second time in the 90s as a Republican. But the switch never happened, so since all the Dems and Republicans didn't switch at the same damn time. Fob James has a son named Tim James, who has unsuccessfully ran for a handful of positions in Alabama, governor, senator, and he is one of the craziest right-wing nuts I have ever seen. He said if elected governor, he'd save the state money by only allowing driving tests to be given in English. Like, what? Like, I didn't realize that would be a great cost cutter. He said that our children are under attack from the three-headed beast of critical race theory, transgenderism, and yoga. Yes, yoga. I would love to ask him how he feels about his daddy being a Democrat, because even though technically Fob won the second term as a Republican, since the party switch isn't real, he's still a Democrat to this day. Deniers will point to Robert Byrd being a Democrat his entire life as proof positive that the switch never happened, because Byrd was a grand octopus dragonfly imperial cyclops in the KKK, and Joe Biden spoke at his funeral. So there you have it. Biden might as well be in the KKK too. When all you have to do is just keep reading. Keep reading. I mean, you read the headline, you read like the little opening paragraph. Just keep reading past that. If you're on a normal article, not a QAnon site. Read about where Byrd denounced the KKK, and how not only did Biden speak at his funeral, but so did Barack Hussein Obama. And the NAACP praised and eulogized him because he did what we're all supposed to do. He learned from his mistakes and he moved past them. I don't know how this is so hard not to see. Deniers want to point to Biden writing the 94 crime bill, but it completely ignored that it was extremely, extremely bipartisan, and the National Black Caucus overwhelmingly supported it, which we know today the bill was horrible, but at the time, people thought that's what it was needed. The deniers will point out Biden wrote it, but completely ignored that he says that he completely regrets it. As always, only focus on the parts you like. If it fits your narrative, those parts are the facts over feelings. The parts that doesn't help your argument, that's just fake news. Deniers say people don't change. Parties don't change. That Democrats haven't changed at all. They haven't changed their perspective after learning information, listening to their constituents, realizing things, and thinking of issues and situations they hadn't thought of before. That since Democrats started the KKK, that means that they haven't changed at all. That since 20, 30 years ago, there's videos of Democrats being against gay marriage. That means that they're still the homophobic, racist party. But deniers will ignore the fact that 30 years ago, almost every single person was against gay marriage. I've always been for gay marriage as long as I can remember. I've always been for gay people having the same exact rights as heterosexuals. But I will be the first to admit that when all the issues, all the trans rights and the non-binary, it wasn't that I was against it. I did not understand it. I'm like, hang on, no, what? This is, huh? But I did what I was supposed to do because I knew nothing about it. I wasn't, like I said, I wasn't against it. I was just clueless. So I learned about it. That's the point of life, learning and growing. Deniers will say that Democrats are just whatever needs to be said. They just say whatever needs to be said to be reelected. I mean, that might be true to some people. I mean, I'm not going to lie. That might be true, but it might be true to some people. But I'd like to think that others learn and grow and decide to do better. And I also think that is less prevalent on the left, but I do know that it's very prevalent on the right. Because the only thing that has remained consistent is the right, is the party of projection. All the Republicans railing against vaccines, meanwhile they're all vaccinated. I mean, what the fuck is the point of that? Because they're just saying whatever their voters want to hear. The party switch, I guess, technically isn't real because it didn't happen all at once. It's not real because it's still happening. It's not real because it's a never-ending stream of water causing erosion. Eroding the very foundation and beliefs this country is supposed to hold up. You can look to 10 years ago and see Republicans talking about how good of a man Joe Biden is, and those same ones have nothing good to say about him today, rail against him, talk about how evil he is. The party switch never happened, but we are living in a time that people on the right say Liz Cheney isn't a true Republican. A Cheney. That's all you gotta say is a Cheney. That's all I have to hear and be like, oh, that's a Republican. But party switch isn't real, but there are people that say that Liz Cheney isn't a Republican because the Republicans have moved so far right that a fucking Cheney isn't a true Republican to them. And Mitch McConnell, and they say Mitch McConnell is a fucking Democrat. Like, that makes just as much sense as JFK Jr. still being alive, and he's going to be the Republican vice president. They say it never happened because it wasn't all at once. They say it doesn't matter that the South is majority Republican now instead of majority Democrat. They say it doesn't matter because the switch never happened. Because even after the Civil Rights Movement, it took years for the South to elect a state and local Republican majority. Just completely ignoring that 50 or more years ago, it was the Democrats screaming about states' rights. Now who's screaming about states' rights? The Republicans. But the switch never happened. The shit didn't happen. It never ever happened. Fake news. So that's fake news, baby. That's fake news. That's the part that confounds and confuses and irritates and drives me mad the freaking most. Because Southern people used to know that Democrat policies help them. But as the right moved further right and the left became evil in their eyes, Southern people said, I don't give a fuck. I do not give a fuck. I'm not voting for those lazy elitist Democrats. When the Democrats started embracing civil rights on the national level, you had Southern lifelong Democrats feeling betrayed and started voting for Republicans on the national level while still voting Democrat on the state and local level because they knew the policies embraced by Democrats benefited them. Then when Democrats embraced gay people and trans rights, you mix that with religion with these folks and even more defected. Then when the right started saying, well, any Democrat is just like, well, hang on, let me go back. Because I skipped over Reagan. When the Republicans on the national level courted and embraced the religious vote, then more Southern Democrat, lifelong Democrats started voting for them. Because, I hate to tell you this, but Democrats are Christians too. Even the ones that are still Democrats to this day. Hallelujah, roll tide, praise Jesus. But when the right started saying, well, any Democrat is just like the godless, racist, gay lovers on the national level, people in the South started voting nothing but Republican. And it's still happening. We have people today, well, there'll be local elections, small local elections like county elections. And you'll hear people on Facebook talking about they're not going to vote. These people, they know these people, but they're like, I'm not voting for a Democrat. I don't give a shit who it is. Because Democrats are all lazy, elitist baby killers. And you just look at them with your eyes wide open going, how the fuck did we get to this point? Shooting yourself in the foot because you believe some idiocy. And it's still happening. This whole supposed party switch is still happening. America is supposed to be a melting pot, but we have turned this melting pot into two liquids that flow away from each other. One time a guy asked me to explain the switch. He was asking me, we was at work, and this was like in 2007. I think it was pre-Obama. Don't hold me to that. It might have been, if it wasn't 2007, it was 2008 or 2009. So somewhere in that area. I said, look, the Democratic Party has always stood and spoken for the little man, the marginalized voices, the working class, the blue collar, the ones who need it the most. Now, back in the day, when that only meant these white people, these blue collar white people, it was just fine. But once Democrats started embracing civil rights, you had Southern Democrats saying, well, I ain't voting for the party who supports black people. They more likely use the other word, but you know what I mean. Same with gay rights. Lifelong Southern Democrats refusing to vote for Democrats because my Bible says being gay is a choice and a sin. I mean, I ain't got nothing against gay people, but I got a bunch of shit against gayness. Hate the sin, love the sinner. So you end up with all these disillusioned Southern Democrats shooting themselves in the foot by voting for the party of big business, voting for the party that is against workers' rights, voting for the party that is against social programs that will help them, all because they can't accept the fact that America is a melting pot and every person, no matter the race, gender, or sexual orientation, deserves the same rights as them. He didn't. The guy who asked me, he didn't believe me. He was just like, nah, bro. And that's the gist of their argument. The whole argument is just, nah, bro. I don't like that answer, so nah, bro. I like it when I'm the good guy, so nah, bro. It doesn't matter that white supremacists were all Democrats now they're all Republicans. Nah, bro, nah, bro. Nothing matters because I want to stay in my bubble, so nah, bro. Nah, bro. They want to call us sheep while going, nah, bro. It never happened because you can't tell me exactly when it happened. So, nah, bro. If for the party switch to be real, there has to be a specific date attached to it. Then you know what? I'll let you have that one. I would say don't call it a party switch since it's ideologies and it's not a one-time thing. It's an evolution. But since the right doesn't believe in that either, we are fucked. Nah, bro. I know you won't believe it. I know you won't believe anything you don't like. Southern Republican majority now, Democratic majority then. It's fake news, and you only deal in facts over feelings. Delicious facts. Yummy facts. Well, thank goodness I know that actual facts don't care about your feelings. Thank goodness I believe in evolution. I know what is truly delicious. A roast. Slow cooked in a crock pot. I also know what words are. And even though you won't believe me, I know that none of your words word.